Have you ever felt like the person you trusted most in the world, the one who vowed to stand by your side no matter what, turned their back on you in the most heartbreaking way? I'm talking about a betrayal so raw, so unexpected, that it shakes the very foundation of your marriage. That's exactly what happened to me when my husband chose his mother over me in a conflict that tore my heart apart. What I did next, how I battled to reclaim my boundaries and protect my sense of self, might just leave you stunned. I'm still reeling from the pain, the anger, and the confusion of it all, wondering if I made the right choices or if I've lost something I can never get back. This isn't just a story about a family feud. It's about love tested to its limits, the weight of unspoken expectations, and a shocking twist that made me question everything I thought I knew about my husband and our life together. Stick with me as I unpack the emotional chaos, the memories that haunt me, and the fight for my own voice in a marriage that suddenly felt like a battlefield. You won't believe how this unfolded, and I desperately need your thoughts on whether I'm on the right path, or if I'm just digging myself deeper into heartbreak. My name's Rachel, and I'm 32, living in a quaint, historic neighborhood in Savannah, Georgia, where the air is thick with the scent of magnolias and the streets are lined with ancient oak trees draped in Spanish moss. I'm a part-time elementary school teacher and a freelance children's book illustrator, working from a cozy home office in the fixer-upper house my husband, Ben, and I bought 5 years ago. Savannah's charm is in its slow pace, the way the past lingers in every cobblestone and creaky porch, but my life here hasn't always felt like a southern fairy tale. Ben and I met in college, bonded over late-night study sessions and a shared love for old jazz records, and married right after graduation, full of dreams about building a life together. He's a contractor, always tinkering with something in our house or taking on big renovation projects around town. And for the most part, our marriage has been a warm, steady thing, until his mother, Linda, became a wedge between us in a way I never saw coming. Linda's always been a force, a woman with opinions as strong as the sweet tea she brews, and from the moment I met her, I knew she had a tight grip on Ben. She's a widow, living just a few blocks away in a prim little house with a garden she tends like it's her lifeline, and she's never been shy about inserting herself into our lives. At first, I tried to see it as love, her dropping by unannounced with casseroles, calling Ben daily to check in, offering unsolicited advice on everything from how I fold laundry to when we should start a family. I bit my tongue, smiled through gritted teeth, because I wanted to keep the peace, to be the daughter-in-law she could accept. Ben, for his part, seemed oblivious to how overbearing she could be, shrugging off her intrusions with "that's just how mom is," and a kiss on my forehead. But over the years, the tension simmered beneath the surface, a quiet frustration building in me as I felt my space, my autonomy, shrinking under her constant presence. I loved Ben, adored the life we were crafting in our creaky Savannah home, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was always competing for his loyalty, that Linda's shadow loomed larger than my own in our marriage. The emotional conflict exploded about 6 months ago, though the cracks had been forming for much longer. It started with something seemingly small. Linda decided she wanted to host a big family reunion at our house, without asking me first. She'd already sent out invites, planned the menu, even started rearranging my kitchen when I got home from a long day of teaching. I was floored, my chest tightening with a mix of anger and disbelief as I stood in my own space, feeling like a guest. I told Ben I wasn't okay with it, that I needed boundaries, that our home was ours, not an extension of his mother's domain. I expected him to back me up, to see how violated I felt, but instead, he sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and said he didn't want to upset her, that it was just one weekend, that I should let it go. Let it go? Those words echoed in my head like a slap, igniting a fire of resentment I'd been tamping down for years. It wasn't just about the reunion. It was about every time I'd swallowed my discomfort, every moment I'd felt like my needs came second to Linda's whims, every instance Ben had chosen to avoid conflict with her over standing by me. I felt betrayed, invisible, like my voice didn't matter in my own marriage, and the hurt cut deeper than I could have imagined. That night, I couldn't sleep, lying in our bed with the ceiling fan humming above me, the faint glow of streetlights filtering through the curtains. My mind raced with memories of all the times I'd compromised for the sake of harmony. I thought about our first year of marriage, when Linda had insisted on joining us for our anniversary dinner, turning a romantic night into a tense, awkward affair while Ben just laughed it off. I remembered the countless holidays where her traditions trumped mine, where I'd quietly set aside my family's recipes or rituals because Linda's always done it this way. Each memory was a weight, piling up until I felt crushed under the realization that I'd been shrinking myself, bit by bit, to fit into a mold I never agreed to. And Ben, my Ben, the man who'd promised to be my partner, seemed blind to it, or worse, complicit. Was I overreacting, making a mountain out of a molehill, or had I been gaslighting myself into thinking this was normal? The anger burned hot, but beneath it was a profound sadness, a longing for the partnership I thought we had, the kind where we faced the world as a team, not as me against his mother with him caught in the middle, leaning her way. I tried to address it over the next few days, my heart pounding every time I brought it up, hoping for a breakthrough. I poured out how I felt, disrespected, sidelined, like our marriage was a triangle instead of a straight line between us. I wasn't asking him to cut Linda out. I just wanted boundaries, a clear line where our life was ours, not hers to dictate. But each conversation felt like wading through quicksand. Ben would listen, nod, then pivot to how much his mom had been through since his dad passed, how she needed family now more than ever, how I should try to understand. It was like my feelings were a footnote, something to acknowledge but not act on, and every time he deflected, the rift between us grew. I started to doubt myself, wondering if I was being selfish, if loving someone meant enduring this kind of intrusion indefinitely. But deep down, I knew I couldn't keep living like this, feeling like a secondary character in my own story. The emotional toll was heavy, sleepless nights, a constant knot in my stomach, a creeping fear that if I pushed too hard, I'd lose Ben altogether. Yet, if I didn't push, I'd lose myself. Savannah became both my refuge and my reminder of the struggle during those weeks. I'd walk along the riverfront at dusk, the water reflecting the fading light, trying to clear my head as tourists snapped photos and street musicians played soulful tunes. I'd pass by Forsyth Park, where Ben and I had picnicked on lazy Sundays early in our relationship, and the nostalgia would hit hard, a bittersweet ache for the simplicity we'd lost. I'd sit on a bench under those sprawling oaks, sketching in my notebook, angry, jagged lines for the frustration, soft curves for the love I still felt, the hope I couldn't quite let go of. I thought about my own family, too, back in Ohio, how my mom had always taught me to stand up for myself, to never let anyone, family or not, dim my light. I missed that grounding, that sense of being seen, and I wondered if I'd strayed too far from it in trying to make this marriage work. The city's beauty, with its historic squares and pastel houses, felt like a cruel contrast to the ugliness brewing inside me. The internal war between holding on and letting go, between fighting for my boundaries and fearing the cost. I started pulling back, not out of spite but out of necessity, to protect what little peace I had left. I stopped joining Ben when he visited Linda, citing work or exhaustion, though the truth was I couldn't face her without feeling a surge of resentment. I focused on my teaching, on my illustrations, losing myself in the bright, whimsical worlds I created for kids' books, worlds where conflicts resolved with kindness and everyone got a happy ending. But real life wasn't so neat. At home, the silence between Ben and me grew, a heavy, unspoken thing that hung over our meals, our evenings on the porch, even the way we slept, backs turned in a bed that used to feel like a sanctuary. I hated it, this distance, but I didn't know how to bridge it without sacrificing more of myself. I kept replaying our happier times, road trips to Tybee Island, laughing over burnt pancakes in our tiny apartment before we bought the house, the way he'd hum Ella Fitzgerald while working on a project. Those memories were a lifeline, but also a torment, a reminder of what I was fighting to save, even as I wondered if it was already slipping away. The unexpected twist came about 2 months into this Cold War, on a humid Saturday afternoon when the air felt like a wet blanket and I was in no mood for surprises. Ben came home from a job site, his work boots still dusty, and sat me down at our kitchen table, the one we'd refinished together with so much pride. His face was serious, almost haunted, and my stomach dropped, bracing for the worst. Maybe he was done. Maybe he'd chosen Linda for good. But what he revealed was something I never could have predicted. He admitted that he'd been siding with his mom not out of blind loyalty, but out of guilt and fear. Linda had been struggling with early signs of dementia, something she'd hidden from everyone but him, and she'd confided in him months ago, begging him not to tell me because she didn't want pity or to burden me. Her overbearing behavior, the need to control things like the reunion, was her way of clinging to normalcy, of masking how scared she was of losing herself. Ben had been trying to shield her, to give her these moments of power, even at the cost of my feelings, because he was terrified of what was coming and didn't know how to handle it without breaking down himself. That revelation hit me like a freight train, shattering the narrative I'd built, that he didn't care, that I was disposable, that Linda was just a tyrant. Now I saw it through a different lens. His actions were rooted in a desperate attempt to protect his mom from a cruel, inevitable decline, and in doing so, He'd sacrificed our unity without realizing how much it hurt me. I thought about Linda differently, too, picturing her sharp comments and intrusions as a mask for vulnerability, a woman fighting to hold on to her identity as her mind betrayed her. But understanding didn't erase the pain. I still felt sidelined, still carried the weight of months, years, really, of feeling like my needs didn't matter. And I was angry, too, that Ben hadn't trusted me enough to share this burden, to let me in so we could face it together. Why had he let me suffer in silence, assuming the worst, when honesty could have changed everything? I sat there, the kitchen fan buzzing overhead, the scent of jasmine drifting in from the open window, and felt a storm of emotions, compassion, betrayal, guilt, love, all colliding in a way that left me dizzy. In the weeks since that conversation, I've been trying to process it all, to find a new footing in a marriage that feels both broken and salvageable, but it's a messy, uncertain path. Ben and I have started talking more, really talking, about Linda's condition, about how we can support her without losing ourselves. He's apologized, tearfully, for shutting me out, and I've admitted how close I came to giving up, how much his choices wounded me. We've agreed to set clearer boundaries with Linda, to involve a caregiver for her needs, and to prioritize our partnership. But trust is a fragile thing, and rebuilding it feels like restoring one of Savannah's old homes. Slow, painstaking, with no guarantee the foundation won't crack again. I've started seeing Linda with softer eyes, joining her in the garden sometimes, listening to her ramble about flowers while wondering how much of her sharpness is still there, how much is slipping away. It's bittersweet, a mix of resentment and empathy I don't know how to balance. I've been reflecting on my own past, too, digging into why this conflict hit me so hard. Growing up, I was the middle child in a loud, chaotic family, often overlooked between my overachieving older sister and my adorable younger brother. I fought for attention, for validation, and maybe that's why Linda's dominance, Ben's dismissal, felt like a replay of old wounds, a reminder of feeling unseen. I've been journaling about it, sitting on our porch swing as the crickets chirp, trying to untangle those childhood insecurities from the present, to understand if I overreacted or if my pain was justified. Savannah itself feels like a character in this story, its humid nights and quiet mornings a backdrop to my introspection. I walk through Bonaventure Cemetery sometimes, past the weathered tombstones and angel statues, thinking about time, about loss, about how quickly things can change. Linda's mind, my marriage, my sense of self. I wonder if I've been too rigid, too quick to see myself as a victim, or if standing up for my boundaries was the bravest thing I've done. I'm also leaning into my work more, finding solace in shaping stories for kids, in creating art where love wins, even if it's messy. I've started a new illustration project, a book about a little girl learning to speak up in a noisy world, and it feels personal, a way to process my own journey. Some days, I feel a flicker of hope, like Ben and I can weather this storm, like we can be a team again, supporting Linda together while protecting our own space. Other days, the doubts creep in. Will he choose me next time a crisis hits, or will I always be the one to bend? I think about the future, about what Linda's decline will mean, about whether we're strong enough to face it without fracturing further. I picture our house, with its peeling paint and half-finished projects, as a metaphor for us, full of potential, but needing so much care to hold together. I'm still wrestling with so many questions as I sit here now, in the soft glow of my office, the distant hum of Savannah's nightlife filtering through the window on this sticky summer evening. How do you rebuild trust when it's been shaken so deeply, when the person you love kept something so big from you, even with good intentions? Can I truly set boundaries with Linda, show compassion for her struggle, without losing the parts of myself I've fought to protect? And what about Ben? How do we redefine our partnership, ensure I'm not just an afterthought when family pressures mount? I want to believe there's a future where we're stronger for this, where our marriage is a safe harbor amid life's storms, but it's a horizon I can't quite see yet, blurred by the heat haze of uncertainty. I keep imagining us years from now, sitting on that porch swing, gray-haired and weathered, laughing over the hard times we survived. Maybe that's what healing could look like, a slow, imperfect mending, with room for both scars and smiles. I'm sharing this story with you because I'm still searching for clarity, still navigating the tangled mess of love, betrayal, and family that's turned my world upside down. Have you ever felt like your partner chose someone else over you, like your voice was drowned out in your own relationship? How did you fight for your boundaries, rebuild trust, or did you have to walk away to save yourself? Maybe you've dealt with a loved one's hidden struggles, like Linda's, and had to balance empathy with your own needs. How did you find that equilibrium? I'd love to hear your experiences, your wisdom, because I believe we can grow from each other's pain and resilience. As I look ahead, I'm left wondering if Ben and I can truly mend what's broken, if I can feel secure in my marriage again, or if some hurts linger no matter how much we try to heal. Thank you for listening to my journey, for being here through the raw emotions and the glimmers of hope. I'm eager for your advice as I try to figure out what comes next in this challenging, heartbreaking, and maybe redemptive chapter of my life.